this window. Hey, hi, and hello, everybody. Welcome to the project walkthrough of the drum sequencing project here. Just so we can get started. First off, pats on the back. Kept the last one under 10 minutes long. Let's see how short I can get this one. Got a little bit more to do in this one, but it should be pretty quick. I'm going to talk a little slower because I rewatched that last video and I think I was talking a little too quickly. So I'm going to kind of slow down here, but still keep this brief. The drum sequencing project is about exactly what it says. We're going to sequence some drums. That basically means to program drums into the DAW. We get to make our own drum beat this time, not a pre-made drum loop. Make our own drum beat using the drum sequencer. So I'll show you how to do that right now. And I've just said that. And of course, as usual, the two things you're going to end up with are your Logic X project file, which you'll compress to a zip archive, and a bounce of the project. As a reminder, if you have not done your work of reading and taking the quiz for Chapter 4, drum sequencing, this is going to be pretty important. We talk a lot about beat maps and rhythms and where to put the different beats. I'm going to zoom through that in this video because hopefully you've already read about it. But I am going to show you how to get to all the different buttons here. Okay, we might talk a little bit about the drum types, but of course you're going to be way more informed if you read that stuff. So not only am I going to say thank you to the people watching this right now, if you're watching, awesome, thanks for watching your project video, but also thank you if you have also read the chapter of the book, right? If you've done both, wow, perfect student. All right, so let's get started. Here's your requirements. As usual, remember, these are the important thing. You got to do these 5 things. If you don't do them, you're going to get points counted off, right? These are what you're graded on. So let's say you don't do one of these, you'll get X amount of points counted off for that, depending on how you're being graded by who you're being graded by. So these are your requirements. 64 bars, same length as the last 2. We're not making them long yet. We're going to make them long soon. 6 separate tracks. That's an increase from last time. It was 4. Now we're up to 6. Shouldn't be a problem. Multiple distinct sections. Multiple distinct sections. Multiple distinct sections. Always. No boring songs. Multiple distinct sections. Please. Your song, this is the big one for this one, must be based around a drum loop that you make in the step sequencer. If you don't know what that means yet, maybe you should go back and read the chapter. But if you mostly know what that means but might not know how to do it, that's why you're here. And of course, you need to give your song a unique name. A unique New York, unique name. So maybe while you're composing the song, think about what the name is going to be. All right, so as usual, I'm going to park the project right over here. You might want to park this video you're watching right there in the corner somewhere, just so that you can keep an eye on what you're doing, maybe even park the project there. Generally, if you haven't figured out, the first day, maybe day and a half of each project cycle, you're probably going to spend a few minutes watching this video, pondering over the instructions, maybe even rewinding the video and watching certain sections over. So you might have all of these different, windows happening kind of like this. You might have one of these and it might look like that. But hopefully as we progress throughout the project time, you don't really need the instructions anymore. You don't need to watch this video anymore, and you can just kind of full screen and focus on your music. But for now, we're going to not do that. All right, so you're going to create a software instrument. And actually, I sped through that process that time, but I'm going to do it again to show you what the different options are when you create a new file. When you create a new project in Logic, you get these 5 different things. The only 2 you're really ever going to use in this intro class are software, instrument, and audio. Software instrument's the one you'll use the most. So if it defaults to software instrument, great. And you can just go ahead and leave all of this stuff as normal. When you get into audio, that's going to be projects 8, 9, all that stuff. You're going to need to change some of this stuff. Drummer creates a drummer, which is actually a really cool feature in Logic, which you may one day want to break into, especially if you are using a guitar or a bass plugged in. If you're a guitar or a bass player and you're in my music technology class right now, get ready because it's going to get real cool. If you're not a guitar or bass player, learn to play the guitar. It'll get real cool. Promise. As a guitar player, you can do so much cool stuff with a guitar plugged into your computer. Oh my gosh. So if you're a guitar player, get through this class, get to the next one, inform your teacher you're a guitar player, and there's going to be a bunch of cool stuff to do. External MIDI, you're almost never going to use. For now, software instrument. I hit create. What a software instrument is, if you didn't know, is an instrument you can play with a keyboard, such as this MIDI keyboard right here. Or maybe a little drum pad. I don't have one of those in front of me. You can also play it just with your keyboard. So if I bring up the musical typing keyboard here, I can play this instrument. Great. And as I change the instrument over here, it will change here too. Right? I can change it to anything. What we want to do is we want to change this to a drum of some flavor. So I can do that by simply finding the drum kits. There's two sections of drum kits, drum kit and electronic drum kit. Obviously the difference is these drum kits they sound like real in the world drum kits. Let me see if I can play something. That's a drum kit. I could do the same exact little beat on an electronic drum kit and you'll see that it sounds a little bit different. Right. So you should first off choose what drum kit you want. The easiest way to do that is to do what I'm doing right here. Just go through every single one of these drum kits and play them a little bit. Most of the things you're going to use are like your hi-hat, so find that sound. It's usually T on your musical keyboard. Maybe your bass drum, which is A, and your snare drum, which is D. That's only if you are in the -1 octave or the C1 octave. So if you're not in C1 octave, go there. You can also play these on your keyboard, or if you happen to have some sort of 4x4 drum pad in front of you, it'll play there too. Find some way to make the sounds. This is the musical typing window, by the way. You get it by hitting window and is it window or is it view? It's view, sorry. And no, is it window? Sorry, I use the keyboard shortcut, so I never have to do this. Let's find out. It's window and then hit show musical typing. I use Command K to do that. So use Command K. That way you can test out your drums. I like that one. Cool. So I'm going to get rid of that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to step sequence these drums. So I'm going to make a little drum beat out of this drum kit. Now the drum kit is made up of millions, not millions, but 28 different sounds. And those are what we use to step sequence. And we can also use those to play them live with the pad. You'll get into that in the next couple projects. You can use them to do a lot of different things. We're going to step sequence them today. So just so you know, a quick review from the chapter, the 4 main types of drums we're going to be using are the bass drum or kick drum, big boom, snare drum, big crack, cymbal, big splash, and a hi-hat that goes tss, right? You've heard drums before. Hopefully you have an idea of what drums sound like. And hopefully, again, you have read this chapter and know what these different dots mean. If you don't know what this thing right here means, you're going to have a bad time. Go back and read this. Ask your teacher to explain it to you. Make sure you understand that before you continue. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the step sequencer. It's really easy to get to. Let me just real quick. Yeah, I'm just going to kind of put that away for now because I know how it goes. You might want to keep it open or just watch the video. If I right click in the workspace and hit create a pattern region, it is going to just automatically open up the step sequencer. There it is. The step sequencer is this grid of different boxes. And we use those boxes to sequence the drum. So I'm just going to make the grid really big. You can move any of this stuff, by the way, if you haven't figured this out. Any of these windows, you can move in and out and around and up and down. You can get rid of them too. That's what these boxes are. This is the step sequencer, the editor. So I want to keep that up. I can get rid of this. I don't need that. I really don't need this anymore either because I like the sound I have. So really these are the only 2 things I need. And you can see my step sequencer is going for 4 bars. I could make that go for longer over here where it says 16 steps. I could make it go for 32, which would make the step sequencer, well, when I expand it, would make it more like 8 bars worth of content. So there's lots of different things you can do. It's actually gets really kind of convoluted how long you can make these, but let's just stick with 16 steps for now and the 4 bars, which will repeat. Each of these windows is 1 bar. So this is 1 bar I'm seeing right here. 16 steps, 1 bar. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a pattern that I already know. It's like a basic backbeat over here. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Whenever I click one of these buttons, that will play that noise whenever the playhead goes by it. And sorry, I did something weird. Yeah, whenever the playhead goes by it like that. One thing you can do, by the way, another quick little hint from me, is the cycle button. It's this button right here. You can also just hit, I think, C. Yeah, C on your keyboard. We'll turn on cycle. Cycle is this yellow gold bar up here. And what that'll do is whenever your playhead gets to the end of the bar, it goes back to the beginning. So it'll play all the way through this. And then when it gets to the end, instead of going on, it'll go back to the jump there. So that is the cycle. I'm going to use the cycle and just make it a, like a 2-bar cycle so that I can kind of hear what's going on as I go. So as you can see, it's just going to play that over and over again, forever and ever. Amen. I can make that faster. I can put in more. Like, you can do all kinds of stuff. So make it 16th notes instead of 8th notes, if you know what I'm talking about. But I'm going to keep it as 8th notes now because I'm just trying to do a backbeat. I like that little space. Now in a backbeat, you have kick drum, on 1 and 3. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to put another one on 3, which is right here. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that. You can do that all day, every day. Now, one thing that might be helpful is you can actually move these rows around, I believe. Yes, you can. So I might even put this up here, and I might take the snare drum I'm going to use and put it here just so I can see it all. You can arrange these in any order. Maybe you want to put some toms, and I am going to put some toms in there, so maybe I'll drag those up to the top as well. You can also delete, add more. You can do a bunch of different stuff, but I'm just going to kind of put a couple toms in there and the clave. That's fun. Oh, let's make it a cowbell. Be even cooler. I like that cowbell. It's not a real cowbell, but it'll do. Boom. So there's the instruments I'm going to use. A backbeat has a snare drum on 2 and 4. So if this is 1, 2, because remember every beat has 4 subdivisions. 3, 4. So now I've got a backbeat. Now you can start to see why you might want to make the step sequencer longer, because let's say I don't want it to go ba-bump every single time. I want it to go every other time. If I wanted that, I would just change this to 32 steps, and now instead of going ba-bump every single time, it only goes every other time. Ba-bump. Ba-bump. Right? So you can do all different kinds of things. Let's even fill in some of these hi-hats and then maybe even add another snare drum hit. It's not as much of a backbeat anymore, but just experimenting. I kind of like that vibe. One other thing you can mess with is an open hi-hat. I think this hi-hat 2 sounds pretty good. So I'm going to put that up next to the hi-hat. And great. So I've got something going on there. And then let's add one more thing. See what that sounds like. Yeah, that's what I was going for. Just do that again. And you can see I'm just building a drum beat. Now, I am a drummer, so I do kind of know what I'm doing here. Yours is going to be a lot more experimentation, trial and error. One other thing you can do, I've already showed you that if I expand this, I can add more variety. I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to expand it to 64 steps this time. And now you can see it has opened up a second window. And now it'll play through both of these. So watch, when it gets to the end of this window, it'll go to the next window. Oh, no, it won't because my cycle's on. So this time it will. And that's going to allow me to do something at the end of every 4 bars. So at the end of 4 bars, I'm going to put a little dig-a-doot-doot-doot like drum fill in there. So let's see how I want to do that. I'll even do this so I can... And then I'm going to put 2 claps at the end just for fun. Cool. So now every 4 bars, you'll hear this. Right. So my completed drum loop sounds like this. I'll turn the cycle back on and make it play all 4 of them. That's my drum loop. Great, I made a drum loop. Now that might take you the whole first class period, the whole first day. This is the meat of the project. So do spend some time making something that sounds good here. Now I do want to show you something cool about software instruments before we start making your song, which is that now that I've made the drum loop, I can actually go into the, what is this thing called? It has a name, library with Y. I can go into the library, watch this, and I can choose a different drum kit and it will, let me kill this, make sure I'm looking at that. And it will actually just replace all of those notes with the new drum kit. It's kind of cool. So now if I go back in and play that again, it's not done it. Sometimes it doesn't do things right. Okay, it doesn't want to do what I'm saying, so I'm just going to create a new software instrument, make this one the drum kit I want, and then I can just literally, copy paste this using Command C and Command V. So now listen to this. It's the same exact thing. Now that's not as good because I made it with the other one in mind, but it does let me try out different drum kits. Now, I do like what I ended up with at the beginning, which was the synth drum kit thingy. So I'm gonna just stick with that. I'll delete this dumb guy. Yeah, I like that, so I'm gonna stick with that. And now, basically, I'm gonna kind of cut the video here and just let you know that you are gonna build a song out of this loop. This is going to be your drum. So now just pretend like it is the last project, the last couple projects we did, but instead of using a pre-made drum loop, instead of doing that, you're going to use your drum loop. So you don't need to go look for a drum loop. You just made it. It's right here. You can manipulate it in the same ways you can with the other ones. So looping it. I don't actually know that I've shown this in video before, but I will now. If you grab the bottom of a track, it'll make it longer. But if you grab the top of a track, it will repeat it. It will loop it. And it does these little divots whenever the loop happens. So you see it repeats every 4 bars. So I'm just going to loop that for a while because that's what my drum is going to be. And now the other cool thing you can do to keep your song interesting, as we've talked about distinct sections, maybe halfway through we copy and paste it so that we can come into the second version of it and change it a little bit if we want to. So now maybe the hi-hats get a little crazier. Let's make the hi-hats get crazier for the second loop. The hi-hats go insane for the second loop. Right? And then I might even change the snare pattern. So we go from this to the new drum beat. right? Whatever you want to do there. So you can keep it interesting by doing that. But just create a new song now. Again, I'll give this same spiel I always give. Hopefully this one's not getting too long. I think I've already gone up to the 20 minutes or so. I want you to use all the time you have to make the best music you can. You made that drum loop. Isn't that so cool that you did that? Keep that going and make the best song that you possibly can with the tools that are given to you. You can use this drum loop you have, add other additional Apple loops. There are just so many, 30,000, like I keep saying, so many options. I'm not going to walk you through how to bounce and save this project. I will, though, show you that I need you to make sure you save as the correct file name. And so for this one, it's going to be, as usual, your name, your song's name, which I'm going to call this one Cling Clang, because that's kind of the noise it makes. And then you're going to call it, what's the name of this project? Drum Sequencing Project. And then you hit save. You got to make sure you bounce that. You got to make sure you compress that, blah, all that stuff. Thank you so much for watching. You're one of the good ones. Have fun making music.